Speaking with Congressman Allen West of the 22nd Congressional District, and while I'm thinking about it, Congressman, what's that district going to look like after the legislature draws new boundary lines? What do you think?
Well, who knows? Right now it's a D+1 district. We were very successful in 2010.
D+1 means?
D+1, 1% registered Democrats over Republicans.
Right.
Very big registered independent group in the district right now. I think that if it stays where it is, and maybe get a little stronger, R1, R2, don't know exactly which direction they're going to go. As you know, in 2010 they passed Amendment 5 and 6,
right,
which says you have to adhere to certain rules, but then you also have the Voting Rights Act, so there's a little bit of conflict between the state law and then the federal law.
It's going to end up in court. And maybe a federal judge, as has happened before, although I don't think federal judges really ought to be drawing congressional district lines.
Absolutely. This should be something that the state of Florida decides.
Yeah. Congressman West, let me ask you, I'm sure you have been following the Republican primary race very closely.
Yeah.
Why isn't there one candidate who has really captured the imagination of most Republicans?
Well, I think when you look at the crew that is up there, you have, from the moderate to the libertarians. So you have that entire spectrum that's represented from, center right over to, very far right. And I think people are really trying to feel it out and see, exactly where do I line myself. You've seen Mitt Romney pretty much stay steady going along, 23 to 25%.
Yeah, but he seems to have kept out at that 28-30%. He just can't get beyond it.
Absolutely. It's amazing. And what you see on the other side is that people are looking for someone that can give them a varying perspective to Romney. And we saw Michelle Bachmann go up and come down. We saw Rick Perry, Herman Cain. And now, of course, it's Newt Gingrich's opportunity to step up and see if he can.
Yeah, but this Congressman, this revelation that while he was out of Congress, where he had been obviously the House Speaker, and he worked for Freddie Mac and got $1.6 million or something for advice. I mean, come on. He was a lobbyist.
Oh, that's going to hurt him, because I think right now the American people, and even what they've seen with President Obama, they started to see him as playing a lot more of D.C. inside baseball. And so, that's one of the tough things that Speaker Gingrich is going to have to contend with.
Yeah. Well, who do you think is going to wind up as the nominee of the Republican Party? Give us your best guess.
Boy, if I was Johnny Carson and the amazing Karnak, I think that, in the end there will be someone that can really provide the best possible ability to beat President Obama based upon principles and policies and the experience that they have. But this is what I would do. If I was out there, I would start talking about who my team would be, because I think that's really what puts you over the top, is the folks that you're going to
surround yourself. Who your advisors.
Absolutely.
And also, I mean, look, there are a lot of people who continue to talk about Senator Marco Rubio as a possible running mate, 40 years old, good-looking, very smart.
He has all the right. Absolutely. The state of Florida is important. Yeah. So that's another draw for him as well.
Yeah. Herman Cain was in South Florida last week. I got to spend a little time watching him and spoke with him for a couple of minutes. And Mr. Cain came to town without, obviously, it seems to me, having been briefed about any issues that mattered in South Florida. I asked him, it was kind of not exactly a Libya moment, but I asked him about the wet foot, dry foot policy concerning Cuban migrants, and there was just this blank look on his face until later in the afternoon after he got some kind of a briefing. Is he really qualified to be president?
Well, I think, once again, the organization that he has surrounded himself with is not preparing him to be able to go out there and contend with these pressing issues. You can get some economic advisors to take care of the economic principles and turn this around. But when you start talking about foreign policy decisions, that's you as the leader. I mean, Commander-in-Chief is the most important title for the president, and I think that you just can't flub away foreign policy. You just can't wish away Uzbekistan, Libya, or any of those type of things.
Uzbekistan, Stan, whatever he said. Congressman West, last August you wrote I thought a very direct, pointed, but also eloquent letter to the Congressional Black Caucus after Maxine Waters and another member had made some comments you thought were pretty ugly and divisive. And you said, if you don't stop this, I'm going to resign. You are the only Republican member of that caucus. Are you still in there?
Yes, I am. Because the thing is this, if I'm not a quitter. And if I had stepped aside, then how can I really try to affect some type of change? Because I think that it is important that they have a variant perspective and a voice within that Congressional Black Caucus.
And did they listen to you?
They do. I mean, I actually have a great relationship with Chairman Cleaver. We have talked several times in his office, in my office, on some pretty critical issues. And I think one of the key things we got to do, when you look at unemployment in the black community, 17%. You know, that's
blacks,
younger blacks, 45, 46%. So our urban communities are looking like combat zones. So we have got to look at how do we, revitalize and incentivize, small business and economic growth in the urban communities, because we're not going to be able to turn this around if we have that segment failing.
10 seconds. How's your relationship with Debbie Wasserman Schultz these days? Do you say hello? Does she say hello to you?
Well, not too often. I'm, pretty much so in my world and doing what I have to do. But I will work with anyone to make sure that we can improve the standard of living for South Floridians and for all Americans.
All right. Congressman Allen West, always a pleasure to speak with you.
Thanks, Michael.
Very much.